All right, Luke, thanks for coming to hang
Yeah,
out with
thanks
us
for
today.
having me.
It's it's a little
I'm
humid out here
excited.
this afternoon in Oshkosh. We had a little thunderstorm this morning, but overall it's been a pretty good time. What do you think about the show so far?
Maybe some of the best weather I've seen. I've done a few Oshkoshes now.
Knock on wood.
Knock
right?
on, yes,
Yes.
yes. I brought my poncho just in case. You never know.
Well, you're from
But
you're from Phoenix, so you
Phoenix, yep.
a little bit of weather. It's a little scary to see a little rain here.
You know what?
sometimes.
This is cold for me. It's
Yeah.
110 degrees at home, so this is a little bit cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, man, that's cool. I'm surprised you weren't wearing a jacket this morning. I was even cold.
You know what? I was wearing a jacket. Yeah, it's over there. No, I was.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. So, we're here. We're talking about, we got a lot of different topics here on our show this week, but, one that we didn't really cover is flight schools.
Yeah.
And, I've known Sierra Charlie. I've known several people involved in it for a long time. And I want to bring you on to talk about what you guys do. There's a lot of flight schools in the Phoenix area.
Sure.
And, I want to talk to you guys a little more. What makes you guys different? What do you guys deliver that nobody else does?
Well, thanks again for having me on. I'm excited to be on. We've been around now for 8 years. I started with the school 6 years ago. We had 2 airplanes, and the owner of the flight school actually gave me my private certificate. So back when we had kind of a bullpen, 2 offices, and 2 airplanes, and now we're at 16 airplanes with 150 on order. So some big growth plans coming.
Nice.
But I think what's led to our success is we take a lot of pride in taking care of our students.
Right.
If we take care of our students, they'll take care of us in referrals, and the education piece is so important, especially nowadays. I'm sure we'll talk about hiring, but having a good education is so important. That's something that we've spent a lot of time developing and making sure we do right.
Right. So where you guys are at Scottsdale.
Yep, Scottsdale and Chandler, Arizona. So 2 locations
Yep.
out there.
Yep. And you guys looking to maybe expand a little more?
A little bit, yeah. If you know Scottsdale, you can't quite put 150 airplanes there.
Yeah.
So,
That's for sure.
Yeah. We've looked at a bunch of different locations.
Yeah.
I can't quite say where yet, but we've definitely got some big plans
All right.
in the back of our head.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, tell me again. So you started 8 years ago.
Yep.
Probably 2020, 2021, the demand for flight training just exploded, right?
Yeah.
As these new collective bargainings were coming out at these airlines,
Yeah.
made the job, pretty enticing for a lot of people. So, what did you guys see? How many students were you bringing in the door back then?
Yeah.
Was it just a large volume?
Yeah. So March of 2020 is when I came on full time at Sierra Charlie. I'd played hockey in my previous life. Until then, I retired in March of 2020, and then I came to work full time in aviation.
Nice.
I had done the summers previous, and March of 2020 was a huge growth year for us. We saw tons of people just wanting to get into aviation for fun. A lot of people career, and I'd say 2021. January 21 is where we really saw the big growth in career flight training.
Right.
2020 was a good mix, about 50-50, but then after that we saw a huge growth period in career flight training.
Nice.
It was really cool to see.
Nice. So, how many students you guys currently have roughly?
About 300.
And-
about 300 currently.
And so I'm just spitballing here, but are most of them looking to go to the Part 121 world, or is it just you have people in there that are kind of like, I just want to get my license and do it at a cool place?
So about 80% of our business is career pilot program.
Yep.
What we really impress upon is your mind's going to change 5-10 different times probably going through your flight training.
Right.
We see it all the time.
Right.
I've got a good buddy that's here with us, and he's wanted to go to United Airlines his whole life, and now he's thinking about going NetJets, right?
Oh.
And so I think you really develop a taste for what you want to do over time, and within aviation, I've seen buddies do this. They've wanted to go 121 their whole life, and now they're doing 135 or vice versa.
Yeah.
And so I think you really develop that through your training, what you want to do. But kind of going back to my point, I think for us, our big thing and what's led us to be successful is we'll set you up for whatever path you want to do. Right. We're not just going to set you up to go to one airline or one specific route. We want to make you a whole pilot, so you can go wherever you want. It sets you up for success.
Right. So, right now, obviously, there's a lot of headlines out about pilot, hiring's changed. And it certainly has year over year. It's been changes on the major airline side. But what do you tell students that might be a little worried?
Yeah.
What do you guys tell them as a flight school?
Yeah, so we usually get up in front of the whiteboard and we show a big up and down.
Right.
You know, we draw with some expo marker.
Right.
You know, it's just what the airlines typically do.
Right.
You know, NetJets is still hiring. This place is still hiring. I think what we've seen, which has been unprecedented, is people having false expectations on where they should be right out of flight school. You know, they've had friends go and have these crazy offers flying in NetJets or flying
Right.
at maybe a 121 carrier that they wouldn't we've not typically seen.
Right.
And so I think just bringing those expectations back to where they should be
Right.
is the first thing that we do. But we also look 2 years in advance, right? We're not going to really send someone for their first job for 2 years, right?
Right.
They got to do training with us and then they got to flight instruct.
Right.
So really making sure we're painting a picture 2 years from now of what we believe the airlines are going to look like and what we know from the data we get.
Right. So just led me into my next question. It's almost like you planned that.
Yeah.
But you know, tell me, there's a lot of flight schools, but the reason I wanted to talk to you especially is because you guys have really taken data and used it to kind of make decisions. So tell me a little bit more about that and how you all do that.
Yeah, so we're very big on innovation, and I think one area where we're really doing that well is we call it FOCWA or FDA, flight deck analysis. And so the airlines do this pretty religiously. Basically, every airline does it.
Oh yeah.
But being able to see exactly what's going on in the airplane. It's kind of crazy to think most flight schools, probably 95% of flight schools,
Right.
when that cockpit door closes, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And like I said, I come from the sports world. I would review tape after every game, right? I would want to see where I'm at, how I'm doing, and we want to do that with aviation.
Right.
We want to have a powerful debrief where you sit there, you can go over the whole flight and see what went wrong. Not thinking back, okay, I need to do this on slow flight, and kind of try to piece it together. We actually have data that can show you that. We're working on that pretty extensively, but where we're already seeing benefits is in the maintenance side of things. So we're able to track issues before they become problems.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that we just can't see without seeing that data.
Right.
We can see engine trend monitoring. We can see one of the funniest ones, probably flat spots. A lot of flight schools get tons of flat spots, and we were victim to that. And what we noticed, and we started now seeing, is that a lot of our approach speeds were super high coming over the fence, about the last 100 feet. And so we came out with a bunch of literature on that, and we've had a ton of flat spots go down since then. So just little things like that, that of course helps our operation, keeps airplanes flying.
Right.
But little things like that we're constantly trying to innovate on. And I think over the next year we're going to see a big push for flight deck analysis in flight schools. But the execution part I think is going to be really important.
Yeah. Can you tell me, I mean, specific, you know, instance maybe recently, I think you already kind of mentioned one before we talked here, but about where this data really came in handy. I think you were talking about an engine issue or something.
Yeah, so where we see it a lot is actually on like CHTs, for example. So we look for variation between CHTs. Of course, we're in a hot climate, it's 115, 120 degrees out. It's really important that we keep CHT temperatures down. And we started noticing that one CHT was running hotter than the other. The data was able to tell us that, and we found out we had a cylinder going bad. But we were able to replace that at a 100-hour inspection rather than when it actually became a problem. And so that's stuff that we're trying to constantly develop and find ways that we can find stuff sooner. Because if we can find stuff while it's on the ground, of course, it's better for the pilots and better for our maintenance team.
Yeah, that's cool. What are some data points that you, really are constantly looking at? You mentioned that one, but what are some other stuff? Descent rates on landing, you know.
Yeah, descent rates, absolutely.
You know, that's a good way to rate.
Airspeed.
A good way to rate
Airspeed's
the
a
landing.
big one. Airspeed's a big one.
Yeah.
You see a lot of students uncomfortable going slow.
Yeah.
Hey, we practice slow flight. We do all these things. You
Right.
would think they'd be comfortable, and we see quite often that students aren't comfortable coming at approach speed over the fence.
Right.
And we can say that by going, oh yeah, he looks like he's going fast. But now that we can put a number to it, pull a student instructor in and make it instructional, we found to be really powerful.
That's incredible.
There's so many metrics, and you don't want to get bogged down too much by the metrics for sure. Paralysis by analysis, I think is the phrase, right?
Yes.
So we're being very strategic on how we're really going about taking the data, using it, making it effective. It's allowed us to turn off some airports at night. So there's some airports that we don't allow touch and goes at night. We were finding that we were departing the runway after a touch and go past the point we felt comfortable. So data like that, where we just think we're really making it a safer environment for our pilots and our students.
Right. That's cool. So tell me about the fleet.
Yeah.
you guys have a fairly new fleet, if not completely new.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about
So
that.
average age of our fleet's a 2020. We fly all Cessna 172s. We have a Piper Seminole. We've kind of built that fleet over the last little bit. We've got 8 new 172s coming in the next 8 months. But kind of what you'll hear from what I just said is we have a standardized fleet.
Right.
So Southwest Airlines, which I'm sure everyone knows,
Yeah.
we mimic them pretty closely. We've got quotes from their HQ in our office. We're very big on standardization and everything being the exact same, and we've brought that model to our flight school, and it's allowed us to be successful.
Yeah, that's interesting. So tell me, you got a student that wants to come work at Sierra Charlie or fly down there. They live in, I don't know, New York.
Yeah, sure.
You guys help them out?
We get tons of students from outside Arizona.
Yeah.
I'd say 50% of our student base is from outside Arizona.
Wow.
We get a lot of California, Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
We usually see the Pacific Northwest right after summer.
Yeah.
You get your private, you're
Right.
like, oh, this is awesome. Then the rain showers come and
Yeah.
you move to somewhere like Arizona.
That's all the more reason to go get that instrument rating.
Exactly, there you go, exactly.
Yeah, well,
We get tons of students from there. A lot of students from the Midwest and East Coast. So we're super diverse around the country. But to kind of answer your question, we help students all the time. Move to Arizona, find places. We get a large student base that will get a house and want a roommate. A lot of students want roommates, and we try our best to help arrange that. But tons of students come from outside Arizona.
Yeah, and I'll tell anybody who wants to move to Arizona, do it.
Do it.
Great place.
100%.
100%.
100%.
As a Sun Devil, it is the best place.
Well, I'm from Washington originally, so I can appreciate Arizona.
Yeah, and I'm from
I've lived
East
a few other places.
Yeah, same here, and that's the best place to live.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
And great for flight training.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Good weather most of the time. This time of year you get those dust storms, but those last couple hours,
We do, and we don't really see that affect flight operations too much.
Right.
We see it affect flight operations kind of at the nighttime, which is where we push a lot of our instrument flying. But in the morning, we're still able to run all normal operations.
Yeah, I think, as somebody who doesn't fly, I've been in a Cessna.
We need to get you flying again.
Yeah. Somebody.
I know a place, yeah.
Yeah, you do. You probably know a place. Being in the Cessna when it's 120 degrees in the afternoon, that's always a fun ride.
Yeah, we start as early as 5 a.m.
Yeah, that's
And so our goal is we try to get all the 2-hour flights out of the way in the mornings.
Yeah.
And in the evenings, we're going to do the longer instrument flights where we're up at altitude for an extended period of time.
Right.
We joke, climb to 75 degrees, when it's 110 degrees on the ground. But, we try our best to mitigate that, which is how we run our operation.
Yeah, that's good because, I had to chew that nausea gum.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, there's lots of students that, they get in flight training. They're in that exact same spot.
Yeah.
Our VP got sick his first 20 flights.
Wow.
He has his private certificate now, and a lot of people we see work out, and some people, it really just depends on who you are.
Yeah, so, obviously flight training is very expensive. That's a very well-known fact.
Yeah.
What do you guys do to help? I mean, do you have partnerships with any, loan, anybody who can provide a loan, or how do you guys do that?
We have a very good relationship with Meritize, our loan provider. We're actually the first Part 61 school on their platform.
Yeah.
So that's something maybe that's a little different too we can talk about is we're not 141. And a lot of people think that, and they think of mom and pop, 2 airplanes in a hangar.
Yeah.
We're not like that at all.
Yeah, 2 60-year-old Cessnas, right?
Exactly. We operate just like a 141. If you look back at when the regulations were updated last time for 141, it's just not conducive to how we run our operation. Like you said, we're big on data. We change our syllabus once a quarter. The learning environment is ever changing. I've seen that over the last couple of years I've been here. And so you really need to develop content that's good today but good tomorrow. And so that's the reason why we run Part 61.
Right.
But being the first Part 61 school at Meritize gave them a lot of confidence in what we're doing. They've branched out to other Part 61 schools, which is good to see. But we help out students really, I think, on the value side. Flight training is expensive.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. A new 172 is $700,000 now.
Right.
And we have new 172s coming. So it's really tough to keep costs down when asset costs are so high, right? But I think where we've really added ourselves into the mix is on the value proposition.
Right.
We, I believe, provide more value than most flight schools do. Think about the data we're talking about. Most flight schools aren't doing that.
Yeah.
We do things that we're going to be launching later this year that will be available to a lot of schools to help a lot of students out. We think we've got the secret sauce that we've done a really good job of developing, but helping students that maybe can't come to Arizona. Maybe they're stuck in Washington or wherever it is.
Right.
But in terms of the value, we try to help add immense value with just what we're adding day to day in our syllabus, the people that we provide. Aviation isn't cheap wherever you go. We're actually less expensive than some of the big box schools that you see, and I think we even add more value than them.
Yeah. So what's next? What do you think is next for kind of the flight training world? What's the future look like now that we have these changing hiring trends? And like you said, it's cyclical.
Yeah.
It'll likely come back to normal levels at some point. But what's the future of flight training? Like, what do you see this going? Is it the data? What is it?
Yeah, I think we're going to start to see people get a little more serious.
Right.
We're not a school where you can kind of find your way through it.
Right.
You're not gonna hide at Sierra Charlie. We talk about that on day one of every class. We're a school where if you want to come to be the best pilot, this is why you come here.
Right.
And I think we're going to see hopefully more of that because it's going to be more competitive. That's one of the things I think from our perspective we didn't like to see is it was less competitive, and so you got people that were getting into aviation that were more just doing it to get into it. And I think now we're starting to see over the last few months, people are getting into it for the love of aviation.
Right.
This is what they want to do.
Right.
And I think we're going to see a better pilot from that.
Right.
I think we're going to see hopefully a lot more innovation in flight data, the FDA we're talking about. I think we're going to see a lot more innovation on flight simulators. You happen to be at a flight simulator.
Yeah, of course we do.
I think a lot more innovation on that.
Yep.
A lot more, when a student goes home, what are they doing at home, right? They're at the school for 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, maybe a 2-hour ground. So we're seeing 5 hours out of a 24-hour day.
Right.
What can we do now at home to provide more value? And that's something that we're excited to start talking about more later at the end of the year that we've developed over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But how can we give this all-around package? I think that's where schools have lacked, since the beginning of time, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what about specifically for Sierra Charlie?
Yeah.
You said maybe a few new locations.
Yeah.
What else?
We have some airplanes. We were just at the Elixir booth. That's an exciting airplane. I know they're working towards FAA certification right now,
right.
But it's really exciting airplane. I think it could be revolutionary. Obviously, it's a less expensive option compared to some of the current existing options. So that'll help a lot of schools get into modern and advanced aircraft.
Right.
But also, I think that can make a big game changer in cost of flight training.
Right.
It's definitely asset cost is less, cost to operate is significantly less. So I think Elixir's doing a great job on that front. I think we'll start to see some changes, hopefully, on some of these new deliveries of aircraft to help us be more efficient.
Right.
But for us, we're excited. We've got a lot of airplanes coming. We want to train the next generation of pilots. We also want to train the best generation of pilots.
Right.
That's something that we're really motivated to do, and continue to do so with these new deliveries of airplanes coming.
Awesome, man. All right, well, Luke, thanks for coming on. It's nice to see you
outside
outside of Arizona.
We're going to get you flying.
Yeah, I know. I got to get around to it. Nice to see you outside of Arizona.
Yeah.
A little cooler up here.
A little cooler.
But yeah, thanks for coming on and joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Cool. All right, thanks, guys.